Nice.
It's not out.
Welcome in to DNVR Buffs Postgame presented by the Colorado XOs. I'm Henry Chisholm, and I am joined by Ryan Konigsberg, and we're going to talk about the game that just happened where the Buffs just lost to Oregon. Let's just jump right in with the biggest takeaways. I'll go first, and to be honest, to me, the biggest takeaway is that the Buffs are now in a pretty heated battle for positioning, whether it's the 3 spot, the 4 spot, the 5 spot. All of that stuff is going to come down to the wire, and really that battle with Stanford, that 4-5 battle, is the one that I'm setting my focus to going forward.
Yeah, you look back at this and you can have a lot of different takeaways from this game. But to me, it comes down to it just really exacerbates the loss to Cal. It makes that one hurt a little bit more because if you get a win at Oregon, it kind of cancels it out. Honestly, you'd take that trade if you could. If you said, okay, you get to win one out of these 2 games, well, you'd pick the Oregon game, bolsters your resume, but you didn't get it now. So now that Cal loss hurts more, and it's unfortunate for the Buffs because they shouldn't have lost that Cal game. And those are easy to shake off and just say those things happen. But now you're starting to see some of the side effects. And like you said, you slip back into 4th. And right before we came on, you pointed out there won't be a tiebreaker with Stanford. You're either going to beat them or lose to them because they're going to play one more game than you in conference, unless you can get that Arizona State game rescheduled, which you're living on a prayer. So the main takeaway from this is, well, that's why you don't lose to Cal.
Exactly. I think, going through that stuff, you kind of were right on the money. Like, that tiebreaker likely doesn't matter. The Pac-12 just rescheduled those games today, and at the time, it looked like really good news for Colorado. Stanford was playing USC, and with that being added to the schedule, you think a loss for one of those 2 programs is a good thing for Colorado. And then I think the other game was Oregon against either Stanford or USC. And again, you're like, these are the teams that Colorado is fighting with for this positioning in these spots. But now, as we kind of see how things have fallen today, you can see that the one way that it could hurt the Buffs by getting rid of that one potential tie, because Stanford has 20 games on the schedule compared to the 19 for Colorado. It's just kind of, it's brutal. But yeah, that's where Colorado is now. Turning to what happened on the floor, though, I mean, there's a bunch of different directions you could go, but to me, the one thing that sticks out the most in that box score is Maddox Daniels 0 for 7 from 3. And he had a tough game. He's had a couple of tough games. We've seen him play really well, and I think that there's a good chance that we see him play really well again this season. But tonight, he struggled, and it was pretty tough to watch. Because usually when you have somebody coming off the bench and they struggle because they're a bench player, because they don't have too much role, it doesn't feel like they can really hurt the team that much, because the ball gets passed to somebody else. But when he keeps throwing up the shots and they keep missing, all those possessions really add up. And I think that was one of the key factors in the loss tonight.
Yeah, this one was tough. In these road games, you just know you're never safe. And the Buffs were very much in control at the start of this game. But it's just, what can you do? Like, you just know it's coming at some point. And so you're just fighting it off and fighting it off and fighting it off. And when you go cold for a stretch like the Buffs did, I don't know how long it was. Maybe you have the stat. But they went ice cold for, I don't know, 4 minutes where they couldn't get anything. And then they never really got out of that. Like, they, from that point on, just kind of made the shots they had to stay in the game. But they lost control of the flow during that. They lost control of the shots they were getting. And, you know, you just can't be too mad about this one. I think any frustration that you have just comes from the Cal game. It's a boiling over type of point. You know, it's just you knew this was going to be a dogfight. You're going to need some bounces to go your way. Unfortunately, you know, the Buffs get that great look in the corner for Deshaun Schwartz late in the game, and he's having a great game, and you just think, okay, these are the ones that go down, you know, on the nights when you're playing really well, and it just wasn't to be. But overall, like, I didn't think the Buffs played very well. And the fact that at Oregon, you're really in the game all the way until the last minute, I think is a positive in a vacuum. But again, now you've lost 2 in a row. You're in a dogfight for that top 4 seed, which is, you know, unfortunately, honestly, kind of a milestone that you're really looking to hit as a program. And I think it's one of the main, whatever the opposite of a feather in a cap is for someone, that's what that is for Tad Boyle. It's like, he's never got that. You know, as good as he's been at Colorado, and he's the best, but that's a hump that you haven't gotten over. And anyone who wants to, you know, talk bad about Tad Boyle is going to bring that point up, and there's not really much you can say to do it. So while you were in control, you lost that control with the Cal game, and now you're fighting an uphill battle, I think, because the matchups that you have left on the schedule aren't easy.
No, they aren't easy. You know, Oregon State on Saturday, they at points have looked good, at points haven't. But then to finish the season with USC and UCLA, the context of that game has, or that weekend really has just totally changed in the last couple of weeks. You know, a week or two ago, you look at it and say, that is the goal, is to make this weekend a big weekend that determines what happens to the Pac-12 conference. We just need to get ourselves into position for that weekend. And now that that's not what's happening, it's not a battle for first place in the Pac-12. It's, you know, USC and UCLA certainly trying to take that number 1 spot, but it's Colorado battling to finish 4th instead of 5th. That feels a lot worse going into those games. And again, I think the Colorado's capable. You said you didn't think they played well tonight, and I'd agree. But I think that a lot of that comes down to in missing.
Oh, looks like we're losing Hank there. I wasn't sure if it was me or him.
I think I'm back.
Oh, you're kind of back. I can hear you now. I still can't. Now you're moving. Now you're moving.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I mean, the point is, I do think that, like, they had a weird passing game where nothing seemed to work passing wise, which was a weird thing for a Power 5 basketball team. Some of those shots didn't fall. They had some layups they missed. They only went to the free throw line 9 times in this game. And I think that while they definitely didn't play their best game, there was still plenty to like. Like, the effort was there. The hustle was there. I thought that they fought well defensively. And I thought you could say all those same things about Oregon too, including the sloppiness probably.
Yeah. For the Buffs, I just felt like they didn't get the A game from any of their main players. It wasn't McKinley Wright's A game. It wasn't Evan Batty's A game. It wasn't Jariah Horn's A game. It was just like everyone's B to C game, which again, I think is a good sign that on the road against a really good team in Oregon, you can hang. But at the same time, it's just frustrating that, you know, in a big game like this, you couldn't get anyone to bring their best. I mean, you got Maddox Daniels' F game. Dallas Walton his D game, like no one had their best. None of the role players had their best. Deshaun Schwartz, is probably the only player who sticks out to me as like that guy had a good game.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, get him the ball more when he's the guy who's playing well. And looking, he did take 13 shots, more than anybody else on the team, but a lot of those were like rebounds and putbacks, a lot of work under the basket, which is good to see. But again, I wouldn't have minded letting the guy who's hot take more shots. Let's take a quick break and then jump back in. And a reminder, if you guys are watching on Periscope, jump over to YouTube. I messed up the U in the tube, it has that U sound, but then the other one, yeah, not my best moment.
Game.
Leave the Periscope, go to YouTube, give us a like, the subscribe. If you have any questions or you just need to vent, the comment section is there specifically for that purpose. So make sure that you help us out and do all those things. Also, DraftKings Sportsbook is America's top-rated sportsbook app. It's the official betting partner of DNVR. And even though we aren't into March Madness yet, they still have an awesome college basketball deal that you guys should take advantage of. And that deal is this. All new players will have the chance to cash $100 on a $1 bet on any team in any basketball game this week. If that team makes a 3-pointer, it's an awesome deal. So make sure that you check that out. There's all sorts of other odds too. There's tennis going on. There's some soccer going on. There's hockey. So make sure you check all that out. Ryan, did you have a thought?
Oh, I was just no, because I was gonna say something mean, and so I just decided not to.
I feel like I deserved it. I tried to make.
No, it wasn't gonna be about you. It was about people not being able to make 3-pointers. A specific person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I just saved it.
That's probably a good move. Also, make sure that you there it is. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code DNVR to get your shot to turn $1 into $100 when you bet on any team to hit a 3-pointer in any basketball game this week. That's promo code DNVR for new customers to get a shot at 100-1 odds on any basketball team to hit a 3-point shot. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. Winnings paid out in 4 $25 free bets. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Also, Hassel Cattle Company is the place to go for all of your beef needs. We introduced you guys to Damn Good Beer with Breckenridge Brewery. Hassel Cattle Company has damn good beef. It's really high quality Wagyu beef. That means that it's just marbled and all this stuff. The fat is intertwined with whatever else is in a steak. And people say that it's really good. People who know what they're talking about, like the Food Network's Northeast Burger Jam, who said that the Hassel Cattle Company Wagyu hamburger was the best hamburger there. They have so many other products like jerky and New York strip and beef bacon, Wagyu Frank, smoked sausage. So make sure that you check all that out and use the code DNVR10 to save 10% off at HassellCattleCompany.com. That's HASSELL cattlecompany.com.
It's just been a long day for me. I'm reaching that point where everything is kind of funny.
Me too. Just watching you. I think what happened was I took an evening nap because I just knew that I woke up early and had to get ready for the draft podcast in the morning. I knew that this was going to be late. And so I woke up from a nap right before the game started and went and got a coffee. And it just kind of put me in a really weird place. And then the loss didn't help things either.
What time did you drink that coffee?
It was done by halftime.
Oh wow! So yeah, you'll be you're gonna have a late night tonight. Plenty of time to get some work done.
That's exactly what I was thinking, and then I just have to be ready by the Buffs pod at noon with Ben tomorrow.
There you go. That's not too bad.
No, not at all. Let's get back to the basketball though. Here's a question for you. So the Buffs have struggled from the 3-point line in a couple games now after being one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the conference. Are you at all concerned by this trend, or do you think that it's just a little blip and that they've been playing in other people's gyms?
Oh, it's both. It is a blip that has been caused by them playing in other people's gyms. The unfortunate thing is that missing shots can just be contagious. And you start missing shots, and then your teammates start missing shots, and then it just kind of it snowballs out of control. So they need to start that game against Oregon State with some buckets, and I think they can work themselves out of it. But on the flip side, where they start that game out cold, I'll start to really worry, because these shooting slumps there's no, oh, okay, well, it's going to last 2 games and then you're good. It can last forever, or it can end whenever you end it, So like they're going to have to, there's a little bit of luck involved, honestly. Like, you just got to get one to fall and you feel a lot better. But they're also, tonight, I didn't think they got very many quality looks from 3. You have like Maddox Daniels chucking him up with guys in his face. Keyshawn Barthélemy is like shooting one that he like grabbed off the ground. There's some really bad shots in there. I think the Buffs probably set the record for air balls in a game this season in the Pac-12 today. I think they had 4 or 5. So the looks were just not quality looks today. McKinley Wright, shooting contested threes at the end of late in the shot clock. The only good ones I can remember came from Jeriah Horn and Deshaun Schwartz. Deshaun Schwartz made a couple of his. Jeriah, what was he from 3 tonight? Did he make 1 or 2?
He was 1 of 4.
Yeah. So I think most of his looks were pretty good except for 1 late. So again, you got to have better offense. And this is a theme that we've talked about on every single pod, Henry. It's teams that take away McKinley Wright's dribble drive. If he can't get into the paint, it just changes the entire offense for the Buffs. They aren't able to get the looks they want. He's not able to get his. I mean, all of the points that he got tonight were difficult shots. Tough floaters in the lane, no layups other than the dunk he had on a run out. So it's not necessarily a philosophical thing on defense, because if everyone could do it, everyone would. It's an ability. Like, if you have the length and the strength and the speed to be able to take away that part of his game, then it's going to make things really tough on the Buffs. Firefighter Buff here says Maddox Daniels had good looks. He actually did, and he just didn't make any of them.
There were some bad looks too.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the ones that definitely stick out, are the ones where he's 3 steps behind the 3-point line with 2 guys between him and the basket and 20 seconds on the shot clock. But I'm not really worried either. I feel like a lot of it in college basketball is just having the ability to shoot well and knowing once you get into the tournament that is a threat that other teams need to be worried about. And I think that the Buffs have done enough to prove that they're capable. I don't think you're going to see teams just like sagging off of their shooters. And that's half the battle, at least. Now, it would be really nice to get all those shots to go down. And ultimately, I think that that's just something that needs to happen for them to make any sort of run in either of the tournaments. But I think that happens. What I am a little bit more concerned by is the fact that McKinley Wright hasn't made a 3-pointer in 4 games.
Oof.
And I go back and forth thinking, it's Kin. He's a veteran point guard. You know that it shouldn't be in his head, because everybody knows what he's capable of, and he should know what he's capable of. And I still do think that when push comes to shove and you need a big shot from Kin in a tournament, he's going to knock it down. But boy, is that getting tougher to believe after watching him struggle.
Yeah, and again, I just don't think he had very many good looks tonight. Mm-hmm. A lot of his 3-pointers are, okay, well, no one's moving. It's the end of the shot clock, so I guess I got to chuck something up. Mm-hmm. I'd love to see them try to work him an open look earlier in the game. One thing I want to point out a positive from tonight, because we haven't touched on very many.
Yeah.
The defense. I said on DNVR Bets Daily earlier today that if there was one bet that I felt confident in from this game, it was Oregon's under. I said the Buffs are going to be hungry. They're going to come out and play really good defense. And I thought that's what they did. From this, the under on Oregon points was like 71.5. They held them significantly under that. Yeah. And I can't think of just about anything that Oregon got easily all night. A lot of what they did was just good offense in the second half. The Buffs held them to 25 points in the first half, which is fantastic. And then what did they finish with?
Let's see.
60 something.
Page?
Yeah, so they finished with 60. So they had 35 in the second half, which would have been on pace for still to hit the under. So they kept them under the pace of what Vegas had it in both halves. And 60 points, you should win. You can't score 56 points in a game. Like, that's just you lose that game every time. So I was really impressed with the defense tonight. Eli Parquet, dude, he's like getting stronger and stronger as the season goes on.
It's crazy.
He is, he's lockdown. He's as good as it gets in college basketball in terms of just man-to-man, put him on your best guy and neutralize them type defense. So really proud of him. Proud of the effort. The guy, nothing that happened with the Buffs tonight was effort-based. They played their hearts out. And that's what you expected after that tough Cal loss. Unfortunately, you can't will the ball into the basket. You can do it as much as you want on defense. They didn't get good shots and they didn't make tough ones.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes it so frustrating. But I totally agree. Like Eli, because even made a couple of big shots, early. I can't remember if that was the first half or the second half now, but it was either beginning of one or the other where he knocked down 2 threes. And one was I guess it was the second half because one was to keep them at like a 5-point distance. And then the next one was maybe to bring back the lead or to tie the game or something. Just in those clutch moments, again, knocking down the shots when they need them. And I thought there were some late possessions where he was open on the 3-point line too. And I was thinking, get that man the ball because he is one of your best shooters, at least tonight. And I think most nights at this point, that's kind of what you expect.
Let me ask you something.
Yes. Before we take some questions.
Yeah. We know that McKinley's likely to not come back, highly likely to not come back. What about all these other guys? Because I look at Eli Parquet, and I look at a Jariah Horn, and I look at Deshaun Schwartz, and I look at Dallas Walton, and I'm like, if all these guys come back, you're feeling really good about what goes on next year. And of course, you add in Jabari Walker. By the way, Jabari Walker not being there last 2 games, it's finally caught up to him. This always happens when you lose a player. At first, there's like this next man up thing, and like, oh God, we haven't even talked about Tristan Da Silva, who was awful tonight. Yeah, exactly.
One nice little pass. One pass where he was in the post, caught the ball, took like 2 steps up the court, drew the double, and like swung it into the lane.
And he had a nice little jump hook.
Yep. But outside of that, yeah.
How many turnovers did he have? I don't know if you have that. I think he had like 4 turnovers, which just can't happen for a guy with usage that low.
He had 2.
Okay.
He had 2. Deshaun had 4, and Evan had 4.
Yeah, bad. But again, you get this little boost. Okay, next man up, we got this. And it works for like 2 games. And then all of a sudden that starts to wear off and you really miss Jabari Walker. So you missed Jabari Walker tonight. I forget the point I was making originally, but, I don't know. My new point is they missed Jabari Walker.
I think that's probably the best point you could have made because that's a really good point. With 2 close losses like this, you have to think Jabari, maybe he doesn't change the outcome of either one, but I do think that you've got to be pretty close.
I say he changes the outcome of both.
Okay, I like that better. I like that a lot better than what I said. If you guys have any questions, I see we have like 1 or 2 maybe. Throw those in the chat. We're gonna get to all those in a second. Also, I should say, if you guys like this, make sure you're tuning into the DNVR Buffs podcast every day, wherever you listen to podcasts. We have written content at thednvr.com, so make sure you go check that out. It's all really good stuff. Also, Where did it go? There it is. Never sit in a doctor's office again. You heard that right. If you hate going to the doctor like the rest of us, then check out Zoom Care. The one great thing that we can all take away from a pandemic is the ability to do more things from the comfort of our own homes. And nobody likes sitting in a doctor's office or even having to deal with a doctor for that matter. But we all need to take care of ourselves. So, what is Zoom Care? Zoom Care is like a trip to the doctor's office just from your couch. You can see, hear, and chat with your doctor just like a traditional office visit. You get secure access to urgent, primary, and specialist care, including mental health. And Zoom Care is covered by most private insurers, usually with a copay. So visit zoomcare.com to get started. That's ZOOMCARE.com. There's nothing better than getting a diagnosis from your doc sitting in your own living room. What is so funny, Ryan?
There's just a funny comment from someone.
Oh, it was you. Can I go to bed? Wow. It looks like you can almost go to bed. What's so fun about these StreamYard shows is that I can actually read all of the comments, and that means I get to read the questions too, which I'm pretty excited about. Looks like.
Oh, right. My original point that I lost a few minutes ago was
Yeah.
that if some of these guys come back, this team could be really dangerous.
I know and you have so many pieces coming in too. Like it
Do you have any read on what the leanings are of the Eli Parquets of the world?
I don't know. And I don't even know if we've heard about a waiver for this season.
Oh, we don't even know if that's the thing yet?
I don't think we know yet.
Oh my God. Why are they so disorganized? How do we not know what the Pac-12 tournament seeding looks like yet?
How did we not know that 4 games were going to be announced today? I mean, I do. I mean, again, and announcing the games was the right thing to do. Get as many as you can in, but also the Buffs really got screwed, and they don't get to make up their own game. And you do wonder if they were rescheduling all these games with the thought being like, okay, let's get the teams who are in it as many games as possible so that they can at least have a big sample size and we can get the top right. I don't know. But
I don't know either.
It's brutal.
This whole conference is a shit show.
For now, new commissioner coming in June, so who knows what's gonna be on the way. From Firefighter Buff, what is up with the missed easy buckets from Batty and Walton? Must have had at least 5. A good question. One of Dallas's that I remember vividly was this just beautiful little hook shot until it like left his hand, at which point it became basically a laser. Just bang off the backboard in the front of the rim. That one just left me baffled. Like there aren't many times
all of his tonight.
What happened? Yeah, and it is a surprise though, and I trust Dallas. I like to think of him as Colorado's Boban, like just so good offensively. You can bring him in for not quite half the game, but the minutes he gives you, he's going to be good offensively, and depending on the matchup, potentially good defensively too. I don't think that long term it's a problem. The problem though is that tonight wasn't a game where people wanted to learn. Oh, can the Buffs do this? Can the Buffs do that? Can McKinley do this? It was a game you kind of just had to win. Like you're at the point in the season where moral victories and feeling all right isn't that big of a deal. And when push came to shove, they didn't make the shots, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, so for Dallas, it was just like an utter lack of touch tonight, which like is weird because he normally has pretty decent touch around the rim. But you're like every time it was like the perfect move, and then just like clank. It was like, what are you doing?
It was like they were all dunks.
All of his misses, I'm pretty sure, in close range were backboard and then the front of the rim, meaning he overcooked it off the backboard. And then Evans, it's a little bit of the byproduct of his lack of athleticism, right? So he's really strong. He's really skilled. He's not really athletic. If he had all 3 of those things, he'd be a first-round pick. But he's not very athletic. And it's limiting for him in moments like that where he gets the ball under the rim. There is 2 bigger, more athletic guys coming after him, and he has to rush it. So he misses it because he rushes it, or he doesn't rush it and he gets blocked. And I think that was what you saw tonight. There was one that was just straight up miss. Like And again, I think it's because he was rushing for no reason, and like he didn't need to rush that one, but he thought he needed to rush it, and it caused him to miss it.
And, I'm not like the most basketball focused, like analyst type of guy, but I do think that when you watch college basketball players in the post, one of the things that really stands out is that they all rush it. Like they all just look uncomfortable working in the post and they don't have the patience. And it's not a huge surprise to see a couple of the Buffs, even veterans, do that tonight, even though it definitely sucks that they did.
Yeah, and I mean, we also have the privilege of watching the single most patient post player like ever in Nikola Jokic every other night, and so it really highlights it when you see a guy and you're just like, dude, like, just wait, let the offense, spread out, and then you have all this time, and then you don't need to rush that shot. You can do your fake, you can get up and under. Like, there's so many things you can do if you're just willing to take the ball for like 6 to 8 seconds rather than like 4 to 6.
Yep.
It changes everything, and young guys just don't know it yet.
Here's one from Brent McHenry. What's it going to take for Tad to take the green light away from Maddox?
You can't afford to.
Because what else do you do?
Exactly. Well, if you're taking the green light away from Maddox, you're taking Maddox off the basketball team. Like, it's like, hey, like, sorry, you have no green light, and you also don't have a scholarship anymore, which obviously isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to play him. At least I think Tad's going to play him. He's never showed us anything that would give us the inclination that he's not going to play him. If he's going to play him, he has to have a green light. And honestly, despite the fact that he couldn't make a damn thing, I like the fact that I think in a 5-possession stretch tonight, he shot 3 good ones. And after he missed the first 2, I liked that he took the third one. Now, after you miss the third one, it's probably time to just wrap it up. Like you just don't have it tonight. But if he's going to be on the court, he has to shoot. He has to shoot open threes, and he needs to make them. But there's no guarantee on that side of things, of course. He's still shooting what on the season? I mean, it has to be over 33%, I would guess.
I think I just checked and then forgot. It's like 38. Let's see, 38.4.
That's good.
But I know it's so good, but he's just so loud with whatever he does. Not like verbally, but just like it's either, oh, Maddox Daniels 4 or 5. How do you win a game without him? And then the next game is 0 for 7, and you're like, you like I was saying earlier, letting a bench player not lose the game for you. A lot of things went wrong, but that is one of the big ones you point to. It hurts, but it's also kind of a position you're put into when your best player is a passing point guard. You need other players to put up the points for him.
He kind of has like Will Barton syndrome, where he's lost the favor of everyone who watches him. And so when he does things that are good, everyone's like, oh, thank God. When he does things that are bad, everyone's like, what is he doing? How could this happen again? And it's just unfortunate. I actually was turning around on him in the middle of the season. He had a nice stretch there, and I was like, man, maybe I was wrong about him, but it's kind of all fallen apart at this point.
Yeah, it has kind of all fallen apart.
But again, 38%, like, you have to give that guy a green light.
You have to, especially on this team that is so reliant on 3-point shooting. One more point on this. Like you said, I totally agree. If you're not giving the green light, he's not going to be on the floor. And when you look at this team, you assume you're going to roll with the same 5 starters. You're going to bring Jabari off the bench. You're going to bring Jiraiya off the bench. And you're probably going to bring Maddox off the bench as your number 3. You could give some minutes to Keyshawn if you wanted to. I'm not sure whether that's going to happen, but that's really your alternative if you're benching Maddox.
When you're listening to a broadcast and something happens and one of the guys says, hey, write that down, remember that. I was going to reference that tonight because Keyshawn had a write that down, remember that moment. He hits a big 3 to bring the Buffs within 2 or 3. I think they were down 6. He hits a 3. And then on the other end, he gets a stop. And I think it was a steal, maybe even. And then he comes and I was like, there it is. There's the write that down. Remember that moment. Because I was going to give him like his version of a helmet sticker if they came back to win this. Unfortunately, then he went down on the other end, tried to get a shot, got blocked. If he had made that, it would have been like that was his like arrival, you know. So you have to play him. To use like a Madden reference right now, I think that Tad's just trying to get him his 500 down so he unlocks his hidden dev. Like, it's not necessarily he's playing him because he thinks that he's the best option on the court. He's just playing him because he knows that it's the best thing for Colorado basketball long term if he plays meaningful minutes.
Yep. Firefighter Buff. Kin is not going to be drafted, right? Great college player, but don't see it in the NBA. Come back. I mean, as of right now, I'd say he's not going to be drafted. And when we talked to him this summer, when he said that he was withdrawing from the draft and coming back for his final year, he said that when he was interviewing with the NBA teams, the big thing that he was hearing was you got to work on the assist to turnover ratio. You've got to work on the 3-point percentage. And I don't know exactly what the assist to turnover ratio is compared to the past, but the 3-point percentage has certainly gone down. Let's see. It's at 29 for the season. It was 33.6 the year before, 36.5 the year before that. So if he was a borderline guy, this hasn't been the season that he needed. A tournament run, that catches a lot of eyes, though, and that changes some things. So I'm not going to say that like the path is gone or anything, but it's not looking good right now.
You know, I'm sure if there were our Nuggets guys were watching this, they would roll their eyes and tell me I'm crazy for making this comparison. But like he can be a Monte Morris in the NBA.
I think so.
And now Monte, elite assist to turnover guy, and he's turned himself into a very good 3-point shooter. So that's the path for Kin. I think if his usage went down a little bit, you'd see his turnovers go down a bit, like happens with the Monte Morris when he goes to the NBA. But I believe Monte Morris like set the record for assist to turnover in college.
I think it was like 3 years he did it.
Yeah.
He like broke it, then reset it and reset it.
Yeah. So he's a different breed when it comes to taking care of the basketball. But I just think in terms of, okay, you can be tenacious on defense. Your size is always going to be an issue, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about that. But you can make life difficult on whatever guard you're guarding on the other side. And then if Kin can just learn to make those shots, he has that float game that Monte has. He's very good around the rim like Monte. So is he a draft pick? If he is, it's a late second-round pick. But I still just think he's ready for the next step in his basketball career, and I'm not going to hold that against him one little bit if he decides to go to the NBA or, you know, end up in the G League or go overseas, whatever it is. Like, do what you got to do. You know, you've given Colorado your heart and soul for 4 years now.
I agree. One more question from Ryan Konigsberg. Question: can I go to bed? Yes, you can go to bed. I think that's going to do it for tonight. Like I said earlier, there will be a podcast tomorrow, me and Ben, getting Ben's reaction and maybe some sort of Ben Palm rankings out of this game. We'll see how it goes. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be back on Saturday after the Buffs play Oregon State. Kind of a sucky time for the Buffs, but a win on Saturday would go a long way in helping them finish top 4 in the Pac-12 for the first time in ever. You know, getting the bye that comes along with that, all the battles right there, 3, 4, 5, Oregon, Colorado, Stanford, those are going to be big. And stay tuned to DNVR because we have some awesome coverage on the way for all of it.